Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Welcome to the HR Cafe, your weekly learning for free learning. And we're very happy to have Sir Ernesto Espinosa discuss his tips on how you can find your dream job. Hindi siya pang mga fresh graduates lang. Even those who are mid-career or even higher in their career na nangangalangin na magkaroon ng mas magandang trabaho, this is the webinar for you. And to start off, let's just introduce the HR Cafe program provides timely news and updates, imparts knowledge and experience that are value-adding and beneficial, discusses problems, issues, and challenges, provides answers and resolutions with our guest resource, discusses new technology, tools and processes, as well as industry best practices. It is also a virtual job board for job-related announcements and bridge understanding between employers and employees. We also provide inspiration and motivation that will jazz you up for the coming week. Welcome to the HR Cafe. There's a lot of cafe servers for this week. Susunod po, later on, a few of our cafe servers na late lang po sila. But the HR Cafe was founded by Coach Darwin Rivers, the founder and CEO of the Philippine HR Group, the largest online Facebook page for HR practitioners in the Philippines. Joining me is also Mentor Rona Florentino, the CEO of Uprush. My name is Mentor Tina Coang, Operations and HR Leader and well-known content creator of tinainmanila.com. We also have Mentor Neil Lumacad, a Learning and Engagement Leader and VP External of the Philippines HR Group, and Mentor Alan Cañete, who is a board member of the Philippine HR Group and a Learning and OD consultant. We have our new servers that are joining us. We have Mentor Oliver Requelman, who is adjunct professor of the Far Eastern University, Dr. Ray Fremista, who is a Senior Director of Process Engineering in Intellogics, and Mentor Bonnie Factor, who is the founder and CEO of Learning with Success. Sa mga taong nanonood po sa ating HR Cafe, please leave your name, where you are in the Philippines or otherwise, so I can also greet you and give you a shout out at the show. Joining us, we also have Mentor Jamie Iris, who is the Managing Director of Empower to Excel Training Consultancy Services, and Mentor Jake Getson, who is a Senior HR and Stakeholder Engagement Director. This week, we always start our HR Cafe with our Wow Quote of the Week. And our Wow Quote of the Week is from Miss Eleanor Roosevelt. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Ulitin natin, ha? The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of your dreams. Do you have any comments about the Wow Quote of the Week so I can read it out at the show? So, sa akin naman po, I think a lot of people are stuck in dreaming, right? Lahat tayo may dream. Kahit ang bata, may dream. They want to grow up. When we graduate from college, we want a better job. We want to marry the right spouse, have a great family, and live the life of our dreams. And I think dreaming is very important, but I also think that dreaming can be cheap without any action that falls in place. Instead of just dreaming, I challenge everyone to transform their dreams into goals and then start walking back and finding a way to fulfill those goals. For example, if you want to do a career shift, you might not be an HR, but you want to be an HR and you don't know how to do that because you're in another field. Instead of just dreaming about it year on year, what you can do is you can start taking certifications on HR. You can start joining the Philippine HR group. Where you can meet and connect with a lot of HR industry friends. And then through concrete actions, you can make your dreams come true. And I think that's very important kasi we're always stuck on the dream stage. And then we think that it can never happen. It can happen only to a few select people. But that's not really true. If we do the concrete work, nothing is really impossible. So for example, if you really want to be a millionaire, the question is how do you become a millionaire, right? And Syempre, a lot of people want the quick get rich scheme. They want what's easy and what's convenient. And success is not about giving, it's not a holdout, diba? So you have to challenge yourself to reach up higher and then do more things to reach that goal. Without hard work and success, it's really hard for you to reach your dreams. So we'd like to greet a few people who are early birds sa ating HR Cafe. We have JJ, who's watching from Pampanga. We have our favorite Miss Carmelita Tubadeza de Guzman, who's watching from Cavite. We have Alexer Flores from Pangasinan Project-Based Construction HSE. O yan ha, mag-promote na tayo ng mga companies natin. JB Balanggit says, good afternoon. Maricel Tamayo Roque is also watching from Pampanga. Ang ganda naman ng profile pic niya. And Carol Albino is watching from Caloocan City. Somebody is watching and listening intently from Bacoor. Sabi niya, before I dream of a dream job, I start assessing where my interests like work on that from college till today. That is true. You need to find out what you are good at. Like, for example, I'm not a very creative person. Not in a way na magaling ako mag-paint or mag-color. And I really believe that a lot of my friends are super talented. So, hindi ko hinahangad maging national artist. But everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses, right? So, I'm good at hosting. I'm good at writing. So, that's what I do. Diba? And I move towards a goal that supports my interests and also my talents. Tama po si Sir. You can also do the same. Michael Ravancho says, good afternoon. Oh, naka-basketball. Oh, be healthy. And then sabi, Karen Hermosilla from Tantuco Enterprises and Oil Mill Company in Quezon Province. Yan ang pinaka-best na greeting. Nandyan na yung company name, nandyan pa yung location. Kung may opening kayo, Karen, baka gusto mo magsabi. And then we have Win Azurias. Good afternoon to you, Win, as well. And for that, we'll move to our next section, which is the HR question of the week. Nasagot na natin to, yung can I be terminated for sleeping at work during my work shift? The answer is, especially if your work is security related, right? Like night shift ka, tapos nahuli kang matulog. You can be terminated for just causes following due process if it's really a relevant part of your job to keep it secure. Kasi ano ba naman ang security guard na tulog palagi, right? But I'd like to open another HR question of the week. Pag kunyari, galing ka lang sa maternity leave mo, right? Kakapanganak mo lang, nakatapos lang ng 105 days mo, do you think it is possible for you to resign immediately? Kasi 'di ba, nakapag-render ka na, quote and unquote. You were on leave, you already turned over your job to somebody else before you even took a maternity leave, may reliever ka na. Kailangan mo pa ba ng 30-day notice pag ayaw mo nang bumalik sa trabaho because you want to spend more time with your baby? Ulitin natin ha, HR question of the week. Marami tayong mga HR. Hirapan natin ng konti sarili natin. Do you think that HR and company can mandate the new mother to render 30 days notice if she resigned during her maternity break that is afforded to her by law? Ayan ha? Kasi ang dami niyan, lalo na sa BPO, ang daming nabubuntis, binigyan ng company ng advancement ng maternity benefit, bayad yung 105 days niya. And then one day she tells you, hindi na ako babalik sa trabaho. Will you still process their clearance? And do they need to render 30 days notice? O, diba? And before I answer that, I would like to greet also Miss Joyce Ann, who's also watching from Pampanga. Ang dami natin Pampanga viewers, Ang galing naman natin ngayon. So, mga kabayan? Will you still require the new mother to render 30 days notice? Alright? Will you still? Kailangan pa ba yun sa batas? And the answer is yes. Even new mothers has to render 30-day notice. And when we say render, it means worked. Okay? That doesn't mean na habang nasa maternity leave siya, hindi siya pumapasok at binabayaran mo siya. That's part of the rendering period. So, it is the right of a company to require that mother to return back to work and render 30 days work leave bago siya magkaroon ng clearance. At pag ayaw niyang bumalik, the company should actually issue her a return to work order, ask her, and then actually document the fact that she hasn't returned to work, and then terminate her for just causes for refusal to return to work. Sad, inhumane, inconsiderate, but still very much legal. Diba? And for that, HR learning of the week. We're gonna talk about emotional salary. Ano ba tong mga HR learning of the week? Ang dami nating natutunan ng mga bagong terminology that you can use at work. And then when you use this at work, you sound very smart. Kasi we talk about it already, you know about it, it's well defined, and it really like helps your mind like understand, oh, this is a new concept that we know. So emotional salary, what's emotional salary? An emotional salary is understood as the goods and services that the employee receives for his work beyond the money that forms his salary. Some examples would be flexible hours, opportunities for development and training in the company, etc. Mm. Apparently, rewards, compensation, and benefits do not just include the monetary aspect. They also include other things that are similarly as valuable. Some companies offer high salaries, but do not offer very good work-life balances. Some companies may offer lower salaries, but give you more flexible hour, offer you daycare, may palibre pang bigas, may pakain pa, may free lunch pa, may mga free seminars. And I think that we have to look at how we are compensated, not just on how much money that we make in a company, but also how many other benefits na hindi mo mabibilang sa loob ng isang company. So for example lang, meron akong isang staff na nag-resign sa akin last year. Kasi sabi niya parang, kasi we have a small company lang. Sabi niya kasi yung sa ibang company, mas mataas ang sweldo. Right? And I'm like, kung mas mataas ang sweldo doon sa ibang company, I can understand. They're much more bigger, they're stable. So if that makes you happy, as long as you follow clearance procedures, I'm fine in letting you go. Tapos, 1 month later, nagparamdam siya. Sabi niya, ma'am, pwede po bang bumalik uli? And I'm like, sure, no problem naman kasi maayos naman siyang umalis. So, babalik naman natin ng maayos, right? And nung bumalik siya, we actually asked her why. Sabi niya, the first week daw niya nakapasok doon. Ang unang assignment niya is to attend DOLE meetings, yung sa mediation. Kasi daw may 8 DOLE cases daw si company. So pagpunta daw niya doon sa DOLE office, di daw niya alam kung bakit. Pero ang dami daw reklamo ng mga employee sa company. And siya daw yung nakaharap kahit wala siyang alam. So feeling niya siya yung may kasalanan, siya yung nadamay. And I'm like, alam mo, attending a DOLE mediation meeting does not mean that you are at fault. It doesn't mean that you are responsible. Eh, sabi niya dun daw sa yung messenger daw magnanakaw, yung operations manager magnanakaw. So there's that danger din na parang baka pagkamalan din siyang magnanakaw kasi mga kasama niya puro magnanakaw din. And I think like a lot of employers and employees forget that sometimes it's very valuable for an employee to have a high peace of mind. We always count just the compensation, the benefits, everything that's monetary. Pero one thing we can provide to the company, to the employees, is a safer space for them to operate in. Kasi pumapasok sila dyan para magkapera, pero lalo silang pumapasok sa isang company para yung it's a way for them to enrich themselves, to spend time with people that they like, to actually do something that gives them a lot of fulfillment, to have that peace of mind. So it's really important for HR and owners to maintain that peace of mind in any company. Okay? So with that, I'd like to say, si Sir June Espacio, sabi po niya, I don't complain about my salary. My 2 kids were allowed to study from junior prep to college with free tuition fee sa Lasal. Period. Oh, Kung ganyan yung employer mo, wag ka nang lumipat. Sabi po neto, so that was Sir June a while ago. Sabi ni Shelly Faye, good afternoon, Faye from First Balfour po. I love watching your HR Cafe videos. Ang dami kong natutunan for a newbie in the HR industry. And before that, malapit na tayo sa ating guest speaker. A few announcements. Update po sa DOLE is the DOLE Gender and Development Agenda 2024 to 2028 and Men Opposed to Violence Everywhere DOLE chapter at DOLE. Sabi po nila during their flag ceremony on March 4, 2024, they launched the GAT Agenda 2024 to 2028, laying out the framework strategic plan for DOLE's plans, target results, and outcomes, and reference monitoring and evaluation to make DOLE programs and activities and projects gender responsive. A lot of people complain about DOLE. Isip ng mga employees minsan na si DOLE sobrang pro-employer. Pag may kilala ka sa DOLE, talo ka kaagad. And a lot of employers complain na laging pro-labor si DOLE. All I can say is, I think DOLE is one of the harder working agencies around. Kahit anong reklamo, pinapakinggan pa rin nila. They constantly improve. And I find through experience that they are usually fair. Even though they entertain every single labor complaint there is, no matter how crazy or silly it is, at the end of the day, we have to follow the due process. And truth does prevail later on, which is why, pag tama po ang employer, huwag kayong matakot na mag-file ng position paper sa NLRC. Because kung talagang totoo naman na kailangan tanggalin yung tao, mananalo po kayo sa kaso ninyo. Just make sure that you're well documented. Next, SSS advisory that all employers and members with existing loans note that PRN for loans is only available every 7th day of the month through the RTPL-PRN tab. So that's the reason why minsan di mo makita yung payment number sa SSS kasi wala pang 7th day of the month. So pakiantay lang po ang 7th day of the month para makuha ang paano magbayad ng SSS loans. We have JVC, sabi lang niya. Pilipino lang naman po ang reklamador, daig po nila ang namumuhunan. That's possibly true as well. There's also another update. They say that, may condonation of loans na uli ang SSS. Kaka-announce lang this week. Sabi po nila, the condonation of penalties of members with past due loans to help them regain good standing with the SSS and once again avail of SSS loans. Mga kababayan, pakilang, pag hindi kayo nag-loan kayo sa SSS at hindi kayo nagbabayad ng loan, pakilang bayaran po ninyo. Kasi kung hindi nyo po bayaran yan, paggising po ninyo sa pag-retire ninyo, baka wala na po kayong pensyon. Maliit lang ang interest ng SSS. It's 6% for calamity loans and 10% for salary loans. Hindi siya malaki compared sa mga black market, 5-6 market. Pero once na dumaan ng 2 taon at hindi kayo nagbabayad ng loans, ang taas po ng penalty ng SSS para siyang credit card. So for example, ang SSS loan mo was 40,000. Right? 40,000. Kasi minsan, ang dami namang mid-managers na 40,000 ng SSS loan, di ba? There's you have to count 10% of the penalty and then 1 more percent for yung interest and penalty. So, sobrang taas. 800 pesos per month po ang penalty and ng 40,000. And today we have Mentor Jake.
Hi! Hello! Hi, Tina.
Ikaw later ha, pagdating dun sa PhilHealth and Pag-ibig and announcement,
Okay,
alright?
sure.
Alright. So with that, Pag-ibig, Sir Jake, on to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone, sa ating mga tagapanood. Okay, another exciting topic again. So for the update ng Pag-ibig, the Pag-ibig Fund Ayala Malls Circuit branch in Makati is now open. So we they're officially open their doors on the 28th of February. So ngayon, pwede na kayong mas malapit na mas serbisyohan kayo ng ating pag-ibig office. So ready to serve you with the stakeholders from Monday to Fridays. And then also for the Pag-ibig Fund has formally unveiled also highly anticipated Pag-ibig Savings Dividend. So ito makikita natin yung MP2 nasa 7.03 per annum na, and for Pag-ibig Regular Savings 6.53 per annum. Kaya naman halos mga Pag-ibig members natin din ay hangga't maaari to save din sa MP2. So very competitive ang kanilang saving interest, 7.03 per annum. And then for PhilHealth, so sabi nga dito ay pinalawak ng bagong benepisyo para sa mamamayang Pilipino, no? Para sa mayroong chronic diseases, hindi na kailangan mangamba. Mula sa 144 sessions, ngayon 156 na sessions ang hemodialysis. So very good news for ating mga members ng PhilHealth. At totoo nga malaking tulong to hindi lang sa members or even sa mga dependents nila to have these 156 sessions ng hemodialysis, kasi isa is mahal nga naman talaga. So para sa karagdagang detalye, bisitahin ang kanilang website sa www.philhealth.gov.ph. Right. Also, here they have 24/7 PhilHealth hotline na pwede nyong kontakin, okay, and to dial ang kanilang hotline, and the new hotline is 8662-2588. Ito ay open 24/7, 365 days for all the concerns at para ma-accommodate ang ating Pag-ibig members sa buong Pilipinas. Right. Iniimbitahan namin ang bawat isa to join us for the 2-day HR course training program. This is batch 5, which will happen here in Manila. So the topics are total rewards, labor relation, talent acquisition, learning, and OD. So for details, please send us your inquiries. This is a good learning investment for group or even individuals, and for the topics na makukuha nyo, at sigurado ay may aambag nyo naman sa kanya-kanyang kumpanya or personal development ng bawat isa. At simula 2023, no, 110% ang pagtaas ng benepisyo sa hemorrhagic stroke, sabi ng ating research, paalala ng PhilHealth. So ibig sabihin, ang taas no sa Pilipinas, 110 na ang hemorrhagic stroke. So 80,000 mula sa dating 38,000 lang. So pinalawak ang bagong benepisyo para sa mamamayang Pilipino. At 170% ang pagtaas ng schematic stroke. So mula 28,000, ngayon 76,000 ang kanilang benepisyo sa PhilHealth. Ito ay aside doon sa sinabi natin kanina sa hemodialysis sessions. And 182% naman ang pagtaas para sa high-risk pneumonia. So from 32,000, ngayon nasa 90,100 na ang benepisyo. Sa orthopedics implant naman or Z benefits, para sa palitan na nasira ng joints tulad ng buto or litid, pwede na rin nating ma-avail dito sa PhilHealth. Right. So 156 hemodialysis sessions, that's total of 405 benefits sa buong taon. At outpatient mental health package naman, kasi karamihan dito sa ating mga companies, we're having a health mental programs. So I believe PhilHealth is now also updated their benefits, wherein yung outdated mental health package nila na 9,000 para sa general mental health services at 16,000 naman para sa specialty mental health services ang pwede nating maklaim. Okay, so I think we already invited them, so please join them, at ibabalik ko na kay Tina para sa introduction ng ating guest speaker.
We have a very valuable HR guru who is joining us today, and he's a very good friend of mine. His name is Ernesto G. Espinosa, who is now the incumbent founder and administrator of Human Renewal and Transformation Group of the Philippines. HRTGP, which is a private HR Facebook group which is founded in order to improve the thinking capability of HR practitioners in the Philippines. If you're not yet a member, please be a member and you can see how well HR practitioners, experienced HR practitioners can write and think. Very, very interesting talaga to read what they write. He has also the last job before he retired. He was the senior vice president of HR sa Perpetual Help group of companies where he managed 15 HR managers belonging to different businesses of the group. He held two significant jobs. He was the VP of HR Management Sector of the Energy Development Corporation or EDC, and he was also the VP of HR and General Affairs of Fujitsu Computer Products Corporation of the Philippines, FCPP. Ka Ernie has a lot of knowledge based from decades of experience, and I'm very thankful that he is with us today to talk about how to get your dream job wherever you are. Let's welcome Ka Ernie. Sir Ernie, welcome to the HR Cafe.
Thank you very much, Tina. Can you hear me?
Very clear, sir.
Hey,
Very, very clear.
one.
So what we're going to do, we're
Hey,
gonna be in the background. Then
yes.
everyone else with a question, you can leave it in the chat box, and then we will read it after the show. Ka Ernie, yes po.
Okay. May I start with a prayer, Tina?
Yes, let us.
Okay.
Uh,
Dear who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Do not lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Dear God, please give me the wisdom, the discernment, the patience, and all to be able to share my experiences effectively to our audience. Okay, but before my presentation, I would like to thank sincerely, of course, Tina, who has always been inviting me. This is actually my third in HR Cafe. And then, of course, the founder, Darwin Rivers, no? Who is also a good friend. I was just chatting with him, but sad to say he's under the weather, so he cannot join us. And then, of course, my favorite moderator, si Rona Florentino. And of course, my friend way back in the Job Street days, si Alan. No? So, good afternoon to all of you. And I would like to make a shout out to Apple Barquilla, my new mentee. I was just talking to her this morning, no, and we had a good chat. And then, of course, my good friend June Aspacio. Hello, June. I saw that you contributed a while ago, so thank you very much. Now,
all right, we'll be in the background, sir.
okay, the background. Can you give me before my presentation? To talk about the background for about 10 to 15 minutes because I think this is essential to provide context to my presentation. Okay. The topic is how to get your dream job. And I thought that this is very simple. In fact, when you take a look at the background of my slides, I used the background of Fujitsu. That was a long time ago, sometime 1995 to 2014. But nevertheless, I made sure that I revised my presentation to suit the current needs and practices in the HR profession. Okay, there used to be a saying attributed to Confucius, or the first trainer in China, and Twain, rather. Choose a job that you love and you'll never have to work again in your life. So essentially, that describes what a dream job is. And pardon me, this is not an autobiography. My talk is not about me, it is about all of you. As Tina mentioned a while ago, you can be a seasoned HR practitioner, you can be a veteran, you can be an emerging HR practitioner or a beginner, but my presentation, okay, will benefit all of you. Okay. For the most part, I have been reading PHRG posts most of the time. And, I must admit that I agonize and I pity, okay? So many employees complain that they were ghosted and they had to wait. One of them waited for, I believe, 7 hours before the interviewer talked to him. And one had to wait for 3 weeks before being contacted by the recruiting officer. So, behind the backdrop of all these issues and concerns, I will relate all of this with my experiences. And to quote Confucius, who is one of my idols in public speaking, he once said, I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand. This is a virtual session. So I cannot for the life of me demonstrate what you're supposed to do. But the doing part here is, since Confucius indicated that I do and I understand, my goat or greatest of all time in public speaking is none other than our Lord Jesus Christ. Why? Very simple. Because he talks in parables. He comes up in order to draw a large crowd, a story, okay, that has spiritual and moral lessons. And that is why he is able to draw thousands and thousands of people to listen to him. So he is my number one idol. Now, let me connect the issues and concerns I've been hearing. How many minutes should I wait before an interview? Okay? My truthful answer there is not a minute longer. But I had an experience where I waited for 30 minutes. I was supposed to be interviewed by HR for a vice president HR job in a certain company. So the interview was scheduled at 6 and I arrived at 5:45. At about 6:15, I was not being interviewed yet, so I had to approach the secretary of the one who was supposed to interview me and ask, is your boss ready to interview me? And then she said, wait, my boss is still talking to someone. But at about 6:25 p.m., I saw in the glass door window the one who was supposed to interview me laughing and chatting, etc., etc. So I finally told the secretary at 6:30 that I will leave. I remember that was in the 6th floor, so I left. When I was already in the ground floor of the building, I heard somebody calling my name, Mr. Espinosa. And I looked behind and I saw that it was the secretary who was calling my name. And she approached me and she said, my boss is now ready to interview you. Long story short, I was interviewed by that person for 1.5 hours. Okay? That interviewer eventually recommended me to the president. So, long story short, I got the job. Now, waiting for 7 hours is a no-no. Or waiting for 3 weeks for you to be informed by the recruiting officer of the status of your application is also a no-no. So when we take a look at the totality of the job interview landscape, there are two players. The recruiting officer on one hand and the candidate on the other hand. So let's talk about the recruiting officer. The recruiting officer, first and foremost, has to be competent in his or her job. Now, ano yung K ko na makapagsalita ng mga ganitong bagay tungkol sa recruitment? HR ako eh. Mind you, modesty aside, I started as a headhunter. And I was a headhunter for 8 years. We were placing senior executives in various companies. We will provide short lists normally to the CEOs for them to choose who is the most suitable candidate. Okay? So, you have to be extra competent to be able to do the job. Unfortunately, some of us, with due respect, are almost always amused when the interviewee, okay, talks fluently. Pasado ka agad. Impressed tayo. Ang galing magsalita eh. Not to mention, maganda pa itsura. But that's only one part. But what about the depth of that interviewee? May mga ano ba? May mga sense ba yung sinasabi niya? He or she may talk fluently, but he is not sensible. He does not make sense. So, competence is very important. It cannot be just a warm body. I read somewhere a post where a timekeeper or someone in charge of the 201 files was asked to interview without even training. You cannot put somebody there only as a warm body. Okay? It will be a debacle. Okay? And of course, the recruiting officer has to be professional. Again, not a minute late in interviewing. But you know, as vice president of HR back in the day, I made sure that I had interventions. Number one, at the start of working hours, I have a huddle among my recruiting officers on what we are supposed to do today in terms of recruitment. How many are we supposed to hire, etc., etc. And not only that, so I will know the schedules of recruiting officers. Not only that, my second intervention is I always go to the reception area to take a look at candidates who are waiting. And I ask, what is the time of your interview? How about you? How about you? If let's say it's 9 o'clock, the schedule of the interview of the candidate is 9 o'clock, and it's already 9:03, I will call the candidate to join me in the interview room, and I will interview the candidate myself without the presence of the recruiting officer. So as I begin the interview, I will see in the glass door window the recruiting officer kumakamot ng ulo. Na the recruiting officer knows na si Espinosa nakialam na. Okay? Because I don't like people to wait. Not a minute. Okay? So, after the interview, you can be sure that the recruiting officer will hear from me. Of course, politely. But I will say bluntly that this is this is the recruiting officers, one of the areas of improvement. Now, on the part of the candidate, again, not a minute late. If your interview is at 9 a.m., make sure that you're already at 8:45. Hindi yung you're perspiring, you're hopping and puffing to go to the interview. Or you're supposed to leave at home at 6 o'clock, but you're still in bed. And your mom will tell you, gising na iyo. Or iha. And then you will say, Mama, 5 minutes pa, 5 minutes. Oh, di ba? That is what normally happens. You must come prepared. You have to study first by looking at the internet, the company that will interview you. Do not come out empty-handed. And of course, while some may ignore it, you have to dress the part. Now, the last thing I want to emphasize is this. I know that jobs now, especially after the pandemic, are too hard to get. That's understandable. No problem. But recruiting officers, mind you, are being evaluated by professional companies and they have KPIs. Successful placement ratio, batting average, etc., etc. In other words, nagkukumahog sila na tawagan kayo at maka-successful placement. Okay? Kaya, dapat, they will be the ones to find you, not the other way around. And you should not be at the mercy of the recruiting officers who will ghost you. And the recruiting officer after the interview, let's say, one did not make it, will come up with a letter. Dear one, etc., etc. Thank you for your interest in our company. We regret to inform you that we were able to hire the most suitable person for the job. However, we will still keep your resume in our active files so that in the event that your qualifications will fit our requirements in the future, we will call on you again. That's how we do it. Very professional. Hindi yung niha-niho, wala ka nang sasabihin. O yung mga kandidato rin na sa headhunting companies na ang kukulit na, Mr. Espinosa, what's the status of my application, etc., etc. Hindi pa ba, wala pa bang hiring, ganito, ganito. Sinasagot mo naman lahat. Pero pag na-place mo na sila, niha-niho ni hindi nagpapasalamat. Courtesy, kindness. Those things are very important. So let's now go to my slide with that introduction. In a nutshell, there is an enumeration of what is a dream job. But if I were to compartmentalize and summarize all of them, it all boils down to making employees whole, completo. Because when you say the employee is whole, you are talking at least of 8 dimensions. Spiritual, okay, social, financial, physical, etc., etc. You make employees whole by giving them their dream jobs. And at the same time, if you're whole, of course, you're happy. Eventually, you will be productive. And eventually, you will contribute to the productivity and success of the organization. I will no longer read the enumerated reasons, so pay, etc., etc. Next slide, please. Balances work and personal life, etc. Okay. Next, offers variety, offers challenging tasks, okay, meaningful. Okay, I will no longer read them. Next, so what are my top objectives? Very clear. You see them in my slide. I will no longer read them. So go over them one by one, and then my talking points will be resume writing, job interview, and values and human traits that are important to any job assignment. Next, question. What is the purpose of the resume? Answer. To win an interview. Because if, let's say, you are like my former employer, I used to work with John Clemens, okay, which is a very prominent headhunting company back in the day. You will receive thousands and thousands of resumes. So what are you going to do? You will do what you call separating the chaff from the grain. Let me repeat. Separating the chaff from the grain. Yung mga latak, tinatabi mo na. So, ang ini-interview mo lang yung sa tingin mo based on paper are good candidates. Next. So, if we receive 50 or 500 applications or resumes, listen to this. I might interview, for instance, 10 candidates, but I will only shortlist 3. And when I shortlist 3, I come up with interview impressions. Who, in my opinion, is number 1 candidate, number 2, number 3, and why? Based on their traits. Based on certain questions that I ask, which are more or less behavioral in nature, and oftentimes, or seldom rather, theoretical questions. Why? Because behavioral questions are products of what they call targeted selection. You cannot possibly invent your answer right there and there if you ask a behavioral question. Tell example of a behavioral question. Tell me about your latest sale. That's a behavioral question. But what are your strong points and weak points is a theoretical question. For the most part, it is suggested and highly recommended that the questions we ask are behavioral questions based on certain dimensions like trustworthiness, communication, integrity, and so on and so forth. So you will list up 10 to 12 dimensions within which you will measure the suitability of the candidates. And then we have a guide. Like when you do interview impressions, Mr. One came for the interview dressed in a barong Tagalog. He exuded an air of ability around him. He is assessed to be blah, blah, blah. His areas of improvement are blah, blah, blah. And because of this, I recommend one to be shortlisted in my list of candidates. That's how you do it. Next. So this is congruent with my talking points. Next. Simple guide to resume writing. You can see here, determine who is reading the resume. The recruitment or recruiting officer or the line manager should know the type of candidate he or she is looking for. So essentially, write exactly what they want to read based on the qualifications specified. You can see here an example. A degree in mechanical engineering is required. A degree in mechanical engineering is preferred, is an added advantage. Those receiving less than 300,000 pesos per annum need not apply. There is a certain rigidity in recruitment. Why? Because as the company comes up with its job specifications, this has been researched, or they have been researched by talking to stakeholders, to customers, to suppliers, to incumbents, to managers, so that the job specifications that you see, you should be able to follow rigidly. If it says an MBA degree is required and you don't have an MBE or MBA rather, do not apply. Or those receiving less than 300,000 per annum need not apply. This is a subtle way of discouraging other candidates from applying. Why? Because there is a direct relationship between the salary of the candidate with his caliber or with his qualifications. Can you just imagine you're hiring a director and then you're giving 100,000 per annum salary? That wouldn't cut. Because somebody who accepted a director's job for 100,000 pesos per annum doesn't have any caliber to show. Perhaps, pardon me, real talk lang po ito with MSMEs. But in large companies, you will never find a candidate receiving 100,000 pesos per annum applying for a director's job. No sirs, no ma'ams. So this is what they call perfect match. the qualifications of candidates should match the specifications of the company regarding the job that is being offered. Huwag ka na magpumilit. Kung hindi ka qualified, sasabihin, pwede na. Pwede na doon sa mga pipitsugin na mag-hire lang warm body. Space filler. But if you want to hire a top caliber employee, you should be able to pay. And if you do not have the wherewithal to pay, then that's not your job, or that's not the job that you're supposed to offer. Either downgrade it, okay, or remove it from your roster, etc., etc. Next slide. Write what the reader wants to see. So essentially, my recommendation here is do not come up with bullet points only of your job functions, but enhance your write-up when it comes to your specific traits, okay, as well as your accomplishments. You highlight the accomplishments, not just the job functions, because anyone can do it. It's theoretical. But what did you do? What did you accomplish? Yan po ang binabayaran ng kumpanya. Hindi yung sasabihin mo na ginawa ko to, ginawa ko to. Madaling sabihin yan pero hindi mo naman ginagawa. Pampapogi points lang yan. Next. Make the resume simple and easy to read. Huwag yung cluttered. Yung iba, 4 to 5 pages, just like yung mga nagpo-post na pagkahaba-haba ng post na, pero yung mga essential data or essential information, wala. Kaya hindi mo malaman ang context ng istorya. Kaya may mga commenters na nabasa ko kanina na nalilito. But you cannot blame them. Nalilito Kasi nga, hindi kumpleto yung kwento. Bullet formatted resume. Content can only include career objective, personal information, education background, work experience, and finally, do not enumerate all your reference persons. You just indicate references available upon request. Ganun lang. Sila nahihingi sa'yo ng reference persons mo. Hindi ikaw yung 2 pages sabihin mo yung mga kakilala mo. Hindi pwede yun. Make the resume 1 or 2 pages. 2 pages at the most. Bakit? Sa dami ng resume na tinitignan, yung iba, ini-scan lang Hindi talaga nila binabasa, mind you. Sa totoo lang. Tinitignan nila yung mga positions. Whether they are job hopping, okay, what kind of jobs do they have, etc., etc. Next. Use power words. You can see the difference. Gave work assignments to HR officers. Very simple. Kumbaga, walang sense. But what if you say, directed workflow, provided guidance to HR officers in performing recruitment and training functions in the process attaining. Ang liit department objectives. Next. Or don't say cut unnecessary expenses. You can indicate metrics, no? Reduce utility expenses by 20%. Okay? By coming up with a comprehensive cost reduction program. Better than the first sentence. So use power words. Not that you're flattering them, not that you're lying, but it will make your resume powerful. Next, tweak or slant your resumes a bit. Instead of merely saying customer service, you indicate marketing management / customer service. Parang yung mga libro natin binabago yung mga ninja strategy. Okay? Etc. etc. Payrolling versus compensation management / payrolling. Can you just imagine if you just say payrolling? Ano lang yan clerical Anyone can do it. But when you say compensation management, iba dating. Next. What to avoid? Unless your photocopying machine works and comes up with very clear photocopies, never photocopy resumes. Or buy your data ready forms na binibili sa suking tindahan o binibenta sa daan na i-fill up mo, may mga blank spaces. Or photos where candidates hold number cards as if he or she is a wanted person. Merong ganun kasi ano yan parang identity yan ng mga photographers para pag clean mo na yung photos mo, nakalagay na doon sa hawak-hawak mo kung sino ka. At sino ang pagbibigyan ng photographer nung nung photo mo. Kaya lang, mawalang galang na, sinasama nyo pa yung nakahawak kayo doon sa sa number card No yan. Faded old photos taken ages ago. Kasi gwapo ka dun maganda ka dun So preserve mo. Pero faded na. Pinipilit mo sama kasi maganda ka dun. Pero look at yourself. Pardon me Hindi pag sa insult to. Hindi mo nakamukha. Kasi taken 20 years ago eh. When you were still young. Job descriptions copied from textbooks or chat GPT. How do you detect an essay coming from chat GPT? Repetitive words. Inuulit sa ibang paragraphs. You know, one time, I think it was Darwin who asked in his post, which do you think is the best industry in the Philippines? And here was a guy bannering the call center industry. No problem about that. And in his explanation, he said that in call centers, they even do due diligence, compliance, competency building, etc., etc. And I said, how's that? Isn't it that call centers are only known to be active when it comes to recruitment and training, but not the other functions within the entire HR spectrum? I said. So he went back to me, he went back to his post and said, no, sir, etc., etc. Medyo, pardon me, medyo may kalokohan ako eh. Binola-bola ko, sabi ko. You know, I like people who write very well. Is it possible that I invite you to my HR group? So he said, yes. And is it possible that before I accept you as member, I will ask you one question? And then he said, yes. So I asked a question on competency building. I don't remember that specific question, but I recall that it was about competency building. 5 minutes later, he responded. He said, sir, I'm just driving. And that was the end of it. I never heard from him. And a friend of mine confirmed to me that when he came up with his post about call centers, he used chat GPT. So, huli siya. There was another post also where someone asked for suggestions as to how a resignation letter which will make the recipient cry or his heart will be warmed. Okay? Or how we will warm his heart can be written. So, there you have it. There were so many suggestions. I noticed one, well written. But there was one thing that I noticed. I said, your letter is fine. However, it appears that it is too verbose and melancholic. That those were the words I used. And then you know what he said? Sir, kasi kinopya ko sa chat GPT. Another one of those cases of copying verbatim. But for the life of me, those voracious readers will easily spot if you just copied your essay from ChatGPT. Matatalas yung mga yan, yung mga voracious readers. Isang sabak mo lang ng percentage, alam na nila, nabasa ko na to ah. Kasi nga, binabasa nila lahat eh. So hindi ka makakalusot sa kanila. Yung mga ginagalang kong tao, minsan, ChatGPT rin, but I don't want to embarrass them, I just keep quiet. And absence of career direction, candidates hop from one job to another. Your sales, one time, no? And then you transfer to HR. And then you transfer to production. There is no career to speak of. Palipat-lipat ka and different functions. And why will you be treated like a job hopper or grasshopper? You should at least work in a company for 2 years. You would have developed your loyalty to the company by that time. And then, even as they background check you, you cannot be considered a job hopper if you stay 2 years or more in a certain company. Next. The interview. I said, you have to dress the part. Let's talk of males first. Male candidates wearing checkered shirts with printed neckties. May kalukuhan dito yung kaibigan ko eh. Sabi niya, Ernie, tingnan mo yung mama. Pinagsabay yung checkered shirt niya tsaka yung printed necktie niya. Tinanong ako, bakit niya sa tingin mo pinagsabay niya? Sinagot ako, Biloso Puntasyo eh. Kasi hindi siya makatiis na ipagmalaki na bago yung suot niya, kaya pinagsabay niya. Black shirts. You are not attending a funeral. Elaborate, flowery barongs. We've seen this. Shirts with shabby or unpressed collars, yung nakaganyan, nakataas. Neckties with cartoon characters, nauso yan. Next. Ito, real talk lang. Bato-bato sa langit. Ang taman, wag magalit. Next. Female candidates wearing party dresses. Dresses with big ribbons. Spaghetti straps. Elaborate flowery dresses. Dresses with plunging necklines, micro mini skirts. In short, wear the appropriate business attire. You have to dress the part. Next, behavior during the interview. What to avoid? Candidate demonstrates timidity. Very timid, ayaw magsalita. Red flag na yan, hindi na kita i-hire. I'll give you a tip. Your interview should be at least anywhere from 1 hour to 1.5 hours. Nothing less than 1 hour. If you were interviewed for just 5 or 10 minutes, forget it. Huwag ka na umasa. And the technique among headhunters is this. As they interview, they will ask what they call buy time questions. Buy hyphen time buy time questions. What are buy time questions? Buy time questions for highly competent HR practitioners or recruiting officers are questions designed to give you enough time to review your notes as you interview. Yung ugali ng mga ibang interviewers, they parrot what the candidates say. So, bawat salita ng kandidato sinusulat nila. Lahat sinusulat. That they do not listen anymore to the candidate, but only listen to what they say. They are so preoccupied with writing down what they're saying so that eventually they will be able to come up with a report. But the more competent recruiting officers will not do that. They will ask questions and listen attentively. And then, when it is time to have the buy time questions, that's the time when they will write and they will review their notes. And they will shift the question from a behavioral question to a theoretical question like biglang biglang palit eh. By the way, how many brothers and sisters do you have? Pag tinatanong ka ng mga tell me about your sale to, by the way, winding up question na yun. Preparatory to asking you to leave. Kaya, my advice is be very mindful. Look at the signs. Mawalang galang na po. Maraming mga believe sa sarili. Merong post na sinabi na I think I made it. I was the best candidate in the lot. That person said. And that poster came up with a very long story. And here is my friend Ray Elbo, Ray's son, founder of HR Hub, who just said one word. What did he say? Grammar. Many candidates are oblivious to their shortcomings. They are not mindful. They are simply tone deaf. Some of them may suffer from cognitive dissonance or cognitive disorder called the Dunning-Kruger effect or Dunning-Kruger syndrome, which means that you think highly of yourself compared to others, and you think that you're smarter than the others when in reality you're not. The opposite, however, is imposter syndrome. You think lowly of yourself, but you are very smart. I had a former colleague who was like that. Graduated valedictorian in both elementary and high school and summa cum laude in college, but she was suffering from imposter syndrome. So be wary, be conscious, be mindful, be cognizant of the fact that you have these shortcomings. Looks at the ceiling or floor most of the time and not at the eyes of the interviewer. Fidgets, taps foot, etc. Kumbaga sa Tagalog, kumukuyakoy. Minsan, it can be annoying dahil yung iba, because of nervousness, ginagalaw talaga yung tuhod na gano'n, talagang dumadagundong pati ikaw nararamdaman mo yung dagundong dahil because of fidgeting. You cannot do that. Voice is so soft. Listen to this because this is important. It was Stephen Covey who said, that you have to understand rather than just for the sake of replying to what was asked. Your preoccupation is to reply, but not to comprehend, not to understand. And this is one clear example. Answers questions immediately without waiting for questions to be finished. Pinangungunahan mo na yung kandidato. You're either excited, you want to convey your thoughts immediately, and in the process, you are guilty of number 6 or number 5 rather. Next. It's not all about money. When you are asked, never talk about money first. Talk about job content, career growth. Answers lengthy questions answerable only by yes or no. Excuse me. If you want a lengthy answer, clarify your position first. My answer is yes. And let me elaborate on my yes answer. Instead of immediately talking about or elaborating on your answer, but you have not indicated whether it's a yes or no. Don't do that. Cannot understand questions most of the time and ask that they be repeated. Poor comprehension. Or some of them have the habit of, I beg your pardon, can you repeat that again? Doing like that. I'm not a Burgese or bourgeois, but the language is supposed to be English, not Tagalog or Taglish. But in essence, what you do is this. If the interviewer asks you in Tagalog, in the vernacular, you likewise answer in Tagalog. Out of courtesy. But if the question is English, you never answer in Taglish or Tagalog. That's the rule. It shows the recruiting officer what kind of candidate you are. As I often say, words matter. The moment you write or utter your words, you tell everyone who you are. Let me repeat. Words matter. The moment you write or utter your words, you tell everyone who you are. Face shows uncertainty for the most part of the interview, tone deaf and mindful. Next. These are mostly theoretical questions asked during the interview. Can you give me your strong points and weak points? And I strongly suggest that you start with your shortcomings. Because many candidates have the mistake of thinking that if they talk about their shortcomings, they will never land the job. No. The only reason why that question is being asked is for the recruiting officer to know how you know yourself as a person. So you start with shortcomings. I have a short fuse. I'm temperamental. But one thing I can assure you, over the years, I have mellowed. And I'm taking steps to correct them. And let me emphasize that my strengths far outweigh my shortcomings. That's how you handle it. Hindi pa pwede yung, I don't know of any weakness eh. Better ask some of my friends to, so that they will be the ones to tell you, where are your friends in the interview? Eh ako, piloso puntasyo ako dyan because I'm very strict eh. Isn't it that your inability to indicate even one shortcoming is in itself your shortcoming or your weakness? Dinidiretso kong ganun eh. You talk about your interests, your family background, your career plan. Or criteria you use in deciding which company to work with and your job preferred. I recall that when we were interviewing engineers, we will interview about 10 to 12 engineers a day. And that was a panel interview. And we will ask them their top preferences. Name 3 and why. What is the advantage of that? Choose a job that you love. That is congruent with the question of asking one's preference. Eh siyempre, yung gusto nila ang babanggitin nila. So we should be mindful of the fact that these are their top three choices. And avoid, therefore, to put them in engineering positions that they need not even choose. Next, how to choose the right company. It is not a case of grabbing the job or getting the job that first comes your way. I know that it's very difficult to get your dream job, but you have to be patient. You have to be patient in rejecting the offers that you think are jobs that you do not love. So how do you do that? Check with your friends who already work with the company or with your prospective employer. Access the website of your prospective employer. Check especially financial performance. The large ones publish their financial statements. Dapat marunong kang tumingin. Marunong ka ng mga current ratio, liquidity ratio, etc. Para masuri mo. You have to be discerning. You have to be scrutinizing in order to choose the company. Hindi basta-basta pipili ka ng trabaho that comes along. Yun kagad ang pipiliin mo, hindi. Be choosy. Parang yung mga babae na choosy sa boyfriend. Ganon rin ang gawin mo sa trabaho. Link up with the stable headhunting companies. They will guide you. And at the very least, consider employment with the top 1,000 corporations, pardon me, not MSMEs. Kasi po, ang MSMEs, maiksi ang PC. Pag nalugi, tatanggalin kayo via retrenchment, via redundancy, via constructive dismissal. And you have no other choice. That's why you have to be a yes person. I read, in fact, a post saying that HR is always for management, not for employees. No. In large companies, if you are empowered, you are the one, together with the CEO, who set the stage. You are the change agents, the two of you. And HR is the most powerful function next to the CEO. Remember that. And that is what your career objective should be. Be in a large company, sharpen your saw. And this is what one of my former superiors told me. By age 20 or 21 and 35, or probably up to 40, you sharpen your saw. You read and read. You enroll in seminars, webinars. You attend MBA school. and never talk about money. But by all means, protect your image or reputation within that age bracket. By age 36 or 41, you would have sharpened the saw, or would have sharpened your saw. And money will just come in without you asking for it. That's what my boss said. The president of a large corporation. And I believe him. Next. I was once interviewed by Philippine Star on values that are important in getting a dream job. And the question is this, no? The first question was this. In a room full of applicants, what makes the right applicant or candidate stand out? So we're looking first at the initial impression. A, pleasing personality, pleasant disposition, good grooming, and professional bearing. Self-explanatory. Next. What are the most valuable characteristics of an employee today? Flexibility, honesty and integrity, attention to detail or thoroughness, mindfulness, communication and comprehension skills. Let me talk about integrity. Integrity is doing the right things even when no one is watching. The compliance officers are not around. The auditors are not around. Your boss is not around. All those in authority are not around. Alam niyo po, hindi naman sa pagyayabang, pag wala ang boss ko, mas nakakatrabaho ko eh. Pag out of the country siya eh. Bakit ka mo? Eh walang gumagambala sa akin eh. Kasi yung presidente, every now and then, patatawag ka at may paggagawa sa'yo. So what a relief pag wala yung boss. Attention to detail, thoroughness. Marami yung, halimbawa, yung tatanungin mo ng 5 questions in a text message. Alam nyo ba ang mangyayari? Ang sasagutin lang, yung pang-5, yung huli, kasi yun lang ang natandaan nila eh. Ignoring the first 4 questions. Ganon ang mga ibang tao. They are not thorough. But the ones who are attentive to detail are those who will answer one by one. And why? And indicate the context of their answer. Ganun dapat. And then, it doesn't end with communication, how you talk fluently or how you are able to convey your thoughts. It is more how you understand. Sometimes I must admit that I'm picked. Sa Tagalog, napipikon rin. Because patience has its limit. Ilang beses mo na in-spoon feed, sinabi mo na yung sagot, ganito, babalikan ka pa ng similar question na hindi naintindihan. Pero itong mga ganito, may pag-asa to. Paano? I can identify with you when I was young. I am not as sharp as I am when I grew older. Hindi po. Lahat tayo dumadaan dyan. Kahit na nung high school ako, pag tinawag ako sa mag-recite sa classroom sa harap, nanginginig yung tuhod ko. But I overcame my shortcomings. Kasi asthmatic ako nung bata sheltered ako Unika iho ako Uniko iho ako I was sheltered. That's why I ended up a weakling. But I overcame them by reading and reading and reading. I ate 3 to 4 books a week for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I will always go to the library to read whatever I can take with me. That is how we learn. That is how we can overcome our weakness. It's not too late. Many of you do not know that I'm an accounting graduate. I work as an accountant for how many? 8 straight years. Until one time, I applied to an advertisement, a blind advertisement that only said accountant. And I never knew the company. So I was interviewed by the accounting manager. Some of you may have heard this story. So as I was being interviewed by the accounting manager, one of the supervising consultants in that company, which happened to be John Clements, overheard me speak. And I must have impressed her because right after the interview, she asked the accounting manager if she and her colleagues can conduct a panel interview, 4 of them. So they interviewed me for 1.5 hours. I got the job. That started my HR career. So, sa inyong lahat, hindi pa huli ang lahat. I'm telling you. Read, and read, sharpen the saw. Get a good mentor. Yung mentor na hindi mema, yung mema sabi lang Pardon me. A mentor who is reliable, who will guide you, and who will treat you like a real friend. Because a real friend tells you what you need to know, not what you want to know. Sasabihin sa iyo yung totoo, politely, sincerely, but directly. Hindi ka ipa-flatter, hindi ka bobulahin. That's a real friend. Yung kaibigan ko nga si Jerry Plana, na tawag ko pinsan, we have been together in 8 countries. We've been training partners. And every time we go out of town and share a room, alas 4 pa lang, gising na yung Jerry, nagbabasa ng libro. And then we critique each other. Pinsan, meron kang ganito mannerism every time you talk. Ako rin naman. Pinsan, ikaw rin, meron kang ganito mannerism. But because of our closeness, we are not, or we are never on your skin. Not to accept the critic. Tinatanggap namin lahat ng sinasabi for our own betterment. Ganun dapat. Next. What advice can you give to someone who is applying for his or her first job? I already said this. One-page resume. If called for interview, come in a proper business attire. During the interview, remain CCC. Cool, calm, and compose. CCC. During the interview, respond directly, concisely to questions. Be honest. There is no substitute for honesty. I tell you. Pag matinik ang recruiting officer, they can sense whether you are lying or not. Number 4, next. Once hired, what are the basic things a newly hired employee should do? Go to work regularly and on time. Never be late. Follow the rules all the time. Obey and support one's superior. Work hard. I once came up with a quote. I don't know who is the author, but it said something like this. If you think that your boss is dumb, he probably would not have hired you if he was any smarter. So never criticize your boss na ikaw po yung mas magaling sa kanya. Never. While you're still inside the company. I will read you a poem about that. Next. During the minimum probationary period, which is 6 months, how do you assess whether an employee is fit to do his job? Ability to perform the tasks assigned, ability to meet deadlines, follows orders coming from superiors, relates well with other employees, and of course, performs KPIs. These are your standard requirements for the job to be a regular employee. If you don't meet them, you can be terminated from the service. No more need to apply yung mga just causes. Next. What are some of the qualities which make an employee valuable to the company? Ability to work with minimal supervision. Ability to provide regular feedback. Trustworthiness, especially where it concerns money. Vital information, confidential matters, etc. Helpfulness to others. Most important, ability to accept mistakes. There is a Japanese proverb. One apology is better than 10 excuses. If it's your fault, accept that it is your fault and say that you'll do better next time. And there is no excuse. Hindi yung magpapalusot ka pa. Nag-apologize ka na eh. Pag nag-apologize ka, walang excuse. Nakita niyo ba ako pa sa mga balitaktakan pag nagkamali ako? It's my fault. I have no excuse. My bad. I was not I was not careful. I was not thorough. Ganon. Hindi yung sari-sari pang palusot. Next. This is the poem that I would like to read to you. No? This is my favorite poem. Listen very carefully to all of you. If you work for a man, in, in heaven's name, work for him. Speak well of him and stand by the institution he represents. Remember, an ounce of loyalty is worth a pound of cleverness. If you must growl, condemn, and eternally find fault, why? Resign your position. And when you are on the outside, damn to your heart's content. But as long as you are part of the institution, do not condemn it. If you do, the first high wind that comes along will blow you away, and probably you will never know why. Beautiful. Remember that. Your boss is your progress to your progress and development in the organization. Even though some of you think that your boss is dumb, never, never for the life of me tell everyone that your boss is dumb. Because if you think that your boss is dumb, leave. What's keeping you? Leave. Leave pronto. Next. One final advice when applying for a job. Study the company first. Avoid taking the first job that comes along. As I said, recruiting officers will find you, not the other way around. Get a job that fits not only your qualifications, but your interest. Next. Get your dream job. Next. If you are successful in doing so, you will realize how wonderful this world would be. Parang gusto ko nang kumanta. That ends my presentation. Look for me in Facebook. We have a page in HRTGP, and I have an upcoming webinar on March 23 from 3 to 6 p.m. So register. I invite you. Thank you, my friends. I am now ready to answer all your questions.
Hi, sir. Thank you so much for the very inspiring talk. For everyone, please search Sir Ernesto G. Espinosa for ano. Jake, would you want to read the questions? One of the question first?
Okay, I'm checking on the other uh, pages kasi. Um, Let me check muna. Okay. So first question, Ka Ernie from JVC. Thus the looking for new opportunities, okay, quote unquote, looking for new opportunities, reasoning of applicants acceptable when hiring or a no-no. So I think yung tinatanong niya is looking for new opportunities when they're being asked kung bakit sila nag-a-apply, no? Looking for new opportunities. If the answer is no, no, what if they were a referral from a current employee that is performing outstanding for company? How big is the chances of getting hired kapag ka ang kanyang reason ay looking for new opportunities?
It's not a no-no. It's a yes, yes. There is no problem with that answer.
Sir, just want to add, there's two things that an employee would say in an interview with me that would X them. Number one, reason for leaving for a job, greener pastures. And number two, looking for a new opportunity. It's a no-no for me. When an applicant says it in the very beginning, di ba I always ask, why did you leave your previous job? And they say that it's because of opportunity. There is a sense of distrust already with that answer. Kasi, because I put myself in the applicant's position, there was a catalyst in their experience that made them resign from their previous position. Usually, it's a toxic boss. It's parang change of management. They're not happy with their salaries. They don't feel that their career is progressing very much. So when they use the words kasi na parang better opportunities, they're not telling me the answer to my question is why did you leave your previous employer? Because it helps me understand the way that they decide about their career. What's important for them? Is it the money? Is it the other rewards? Is it the type of colleagues that they're working for? Is it the type of career? Are they satisfied with their career? And I feel that there is a sense of dishonesty or not very honest or not very sincere answer. So if possible, guys, don't say it. Don't use career better.
Yeah.
Ano, looking for new opportunities, just tell the person the honest truth, diba? Like, well, I've been in the job for the last 4 years. I haven't really been promoted. I feel I've been doing very well, and I don't really feel that I should get 18,000 lang, given that I've done XYZ. That's a way for you to sell yourself. Kaya lang when you say kasi looking for new opportunity, there's an additional question. It's like, what exactly do you mean new opportunity? And why do you think working for me will give you that opportunity? Or are you just trying to escape your previous employer? Right? And
Can I
basically I'm just a
uh,
port.
can I make a rebuttal?
Sure, go ahead, because it's a
Okay.
discussion and this is what makes the HR
Yeah.
cafe great.
It really depends on the context. First, from the on the part of the one asking the question, but you will recall when I made the presentation, I talked about first, what is your reason? Talk about job content. Number two, talk about career direction. That was what I said. But in a way, I was blindsided with the question because the question was separate, whether it's a no-no. So my context is it possible as an answer? So
Yes.
I yes, yes, because it follows your explanation of how you did things in the past. that you will somehow connect with that answer and make it congruent with your previous answers. So that's my take on that.
Yeah. But to follow lang, yes, it is a very big plus when somebody outstanding in your organization recommends you. Because when a person recommends another employee, another applicant, they're putting themselves on the line. There's a little bit of that. So the fact that they respect you, like birds of the same feather stick together, that means you're confident in your capabilities to achieve that. We have a very good question from JVC. Sabi niya, how do you feel about the poor employee retention nowadays? Was it the HR's bad analysis in interviewing, worsening toxic environment, or the leadership's transparency on business? Sir Ka Ernie, your answer, and then Jake to answer.
Let me digest first the question. No?
Or Jake to answer first.
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Ka Ernie. So, poor employee retention nowadays. I think this is most of the problem ng mga MS or MSME, right? Kasi nabanggit ni Ka Ernie kanina about dun sa nagja-job hopping yung mga employees. So sometimes I also ask that question about myself. Like, did I hire the wrong one? Is it a mismatch? Was it in the hiring process? But during the exit interview, malalaman mo talaga yung motivation ng mga umaalis. Could be the work from home environment kasi hindi na sila fit, 'di ba, sa face to face or daily commutes nila. So nakahanap na sila ng work from home setup, and could be a culture na hinahanap nila. They want to be um, more driven sa isang bagay, no? Or worsening toxic environment, it's a good opportunity for any company or to the leadership team to look at it, no? Kung ano nga ba talaga yung triggers ng mga umaalis, kasi baka may um, common reasons why they left, and if this is an opportunity for them to look at it, kung ayun naman talaga yung kanilang sinasabi why they left, no, it could be the environment or the culture na tinitignan ng mga umaalis. Now, the leadership transparency on business, also we need to put in the context, ano nga ba yung transparency? Is it financial? Is it yung leadership style ng mga tao? Or is it the workload? Ano nga bang transparency in the business? But if you listen to the whole discussion about Ka Ernie, I think this is a very comprehensive, no, na binigay sa atin from how we how the employees or the candidates will craft their resume, how to be productive in the in at their workplace, and even how to develop yung skills nila. So dun pa lang, that's the hiring. So in terms of training, I believe dun na papasok yung how are we becoming effective naman sa ating environment sa isang workplace, whether we have um, a drastic change sa management, okay? But how are we able to navigate that in a way that our skills are also congruent, di ba? The word congruent na binanggit. And then before we leave. So I think dun sa um, poor employee retention na tinatawag is we need to look at the intangible and tangible motivations ng mga tao why they stay. So it's good to have some survey, check the polls, and have the insights why they stay. What are the common reasons why people left, and that could be a good start, okay, for the leaders to revisit kung ano nga ba talaga yung environment. So now, back to Ka Ernie.
Okay, my answer is this, no, and I will be very straightforward. And I hope that the people working in MSMEs will not take it against me because this is real talk. My answer to the question is all of the above. They all contribute to poor employee retention. among MSMEs. Why? Very simple answer. Providing excellent employee experience in MSMEs is not a language in MSMEs. That's my plain and simple answer. Have you heard of an SME bannering their vision, mission, values statements in their reception area? Have you heard about employees having esprit de corps or team spirit in an MSME? Because, pardon me, most of them at least have this only as the purpose to make money. So their primordial concern is more to make a profit more than taking care of employees. As you very well know, what is an HR? What are the roles of an HR practitioner, for instance? To become an employee champion, an administrative expert, a change agent, and a strategic partner. But the change agent and strategic partner roles are nowhere to be found in MSMEs. They're only employee champions and administrative experts. Yan ang totoo. Harapin natin ang katotohanan. They have not metamorphosed into being like a large company, which starts with your reason for being. Why are you here? Why are you doing this? What is your vision? What is your mission? What are the values that you are looking for among employees? Wala silang ganyan. Okay? If you can give me at least 10 companies na may mga BNB MSMEs, bibigyan kita ng 1,000. So yun ang straight answer ko po dyan sa tanong na yan.
For me naman, JVC, I think we shouldn't I think we don't judge companies based on retention upon interview kasi sometimes uh in the very beginning of their employment, applicants already find out if they are a very good cultural fit or not. Right? So, 'di ba, kasi karamihan sa atin, on the first month pa lang, you already know if this company is a good or a bad one, if you like your boss or not, if you like your colleagues or not. So, on the very first week or first month, malaki talaga yung mga tao din na nagba-back out, even if na-deploy na sila. So, one way for me to judge a company is not based on how fast they hire and how big is their turnover, but more of how loyal are the employees that are still within the company. And if the current employees are actually sincerely, genuinely in love or genuinely raving about their employer. And whether they would recommend their friends if may role na pwede silang pumasok sa company na yon. That for me is a very big indicator if the company is well run or not. It's not just on the attrition kasi there is a possibility before that there was a change in management and there was a cycle wherein maraming pasaway ang natatanggal. So malaki yung termination rates ng isang company. So it's not very accurate to say then na may problema yung company just because maraming umaalis. Minsan inaayos ng HR or ng owner yung culture ng company. Mas nagkakaroon sila ng more concrete policies, more fair to all employees na re-remove yung mga pangit na tao. So maraming umaalis. Look inside the company and what type of line managers they have to determine whether it's a good company or not. But I do agree with Ka Ernie. A lot of companies, big or small, do not have very well trained interviewers. A lot of people have a list of interview questions that they go through para lang may process. Tapos kung medyo okay, de pasok. If you kind of look good, then you get the job, right? If you have all the credentials that fit, then you get the job. I challenge HR managers to actually get to know the people that are going for the jobs itself. You have around 15 to 30 minutes or even an hour. And the purpose of the interview is not just to fill in a role, but for you to see whether this person, this particular applicant, will be a good fit to the type of company that you want to build in. You really need to get to know that person, what triggers them, what's their strengths and weaknesses, how they handle stress. And a lot of people say, well, in 30 minutes and 1 hour, could you find out whether can you assess and evaluate that person? And I think, like, as you interview more and more people and monitor their career inside your company, you get a lot better in interviewing. And when you get better, you make better hiring choices. Kasi sa totoo lang, I was just interviewing like a lot of people yesterday. First 2 minutes, I already know if it's a no. First two
Yes.
minutes. Five
Yes.
minutes pa lang, I know already if I'm gonna, more or less, right? I
Yes.
know already if that person is a no. I don't know
Agree.
if the person is a yes, right?
Agree.
So that 30 minutes and that 1 hour is to me to convince myself that this person is a yes, yes, yes. Through many series of questions, then I will know, is this a person a yes, 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 or just a yes or a yes, yes? And from that, I can make an application. Etong tao na to maganda or etong tao talagang hindi. And a lot of what Ka Ernie said today, totoo yon. Totoo yon. Pag late ka, no. Pag nag-reschedule ka, kasi you hire sometimes for a particular deadline. The chances of you getting hired if you reschedule, hindi ka nakasama sa batch na yun, next batch ka na. And talaga, ang daming tao, hindi magaling mag-interview. I don't know how good you are in your previous job, pero the fact that you're interviewing already shows you're 50% in the door. Out of like hundreds and thousands of applications, you've been invited and you're there face to face with an interview and decision maker. And so many applicants screw it up. It's sobrang, like, 'di ba, no, Jake? Parang 5-10 minutes lang. Sayang yung pamasahe.
Right.
Sayang.
Correct. I think from even CV pa lang, tama yung sinabi mo, Mentor Tina, no? Kasi from CV, we have the
Right.
traditional recruiter na
Mm.
mag-i-screen na. So doon pa lang parang in just a minute you can put na, sabi nga ni Ka Ernie, no? From swipe left or swipe right, or we'll just put it,
Mm.
okay, eto sa middle muna. So nandyan siya. And then at the same time, meron naman na ding platform to screen na mas madali if this is really fit, or yes, with the thousands, no, of resumes na natatanggap ng mga recruiters if it's a big corporations. So now you have that first step, which is in CV, and then now you were able to ace that, let's say, because of the
Mm.
use ng researches mo, and were able to craft or tailor fit nicely. Now, kapag kasinet ka, it's really a big no for me as well kapag merong nagpapaschedule, okay?
Mm.
Or they would ask the recruiter na eto lang yung time ko, at tawagan mo kami. Especially
Mm.
kapag after work pa, di ba? Sasabihin nila, may work ako ngayon, so call me at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, I'm at home. Di ba?
Mm.
So, may mga demand na ganun. But sometimes, okay, if it's really a good hire and worth to do it. So nagagawa naman natin, but in a first impression, it's a no na sa
Mm.
atin.
We have comments from the floor. Sabi nga kanina, employee attrition is attributable to both ER and EE, so both company and employee. This must be discovered by HR. This is by June Espacio as well. I always ask a series of mind-piercing questions designed to read the mindset of the applicant. I also observe body language and the eyeball movement. Me too. Eye contact. Yung tumitingin sa dingding, naghahanap ng butike. Please don't do that. Meron talaga, like dito and dyan. Tip, if you don't want to look at the eyes of your interviewer, look at their forehead or their nose.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
true. Tumitingin,
Tina,
umumuni-muni,
Tina,
kausap ka lang kung tumitingin eh. It's
Tina,
really true.
natawa naman ako sa tumitingin sa butike.
Naghahanap talaga. Tinatawag mo
What?
na. Tapos yung ballpen, talaga ballpen, di ba? Kasi may ballpen, parang, they, kasi when a person is nervous, you can't stop
Hide
yourself
it, yes.
from, you know, yung ballpen, tak, 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 tak sa table. Oh my gosh! I would take the ballpen and put it on the side, like, okay, chillax. Don't move the ballpen. Don't move your feet. Yung
Yeah.
ginagalaw yung tuhod.
Those
Oh,
were the bad habits, no? Lalo na kapag nasa face to face. Pero minsan kasi yung mga ibang companies, they do different, no, na
Hmm.
recruitment. From AVP, send us the video first. Meron
Mm.
silang meron silang link, like Loom, I think .com,
Mm,
link
mm,
doon
mm.
wherein the applicant have to send muna, and then nagkakaroon ng online. At ang mahirap na nga, okay siya, pasado sa lahat, pero pagdating ng interview, doon na ninervyusin. At
Mm.
sayang, 'di ba, yung effort. Yeah.
Sayang yung effort.
can,
Right.
can ask a question, Tina?
Mm.
Uh, I wonder if the veterans here or the seasoned HR practitioners sit in during interviews done by their recruiting officers, because that is one way of training them. If you have,
Mm.
you should. If your HR manager has not sat in during your interview to coach you. Second of
Yeah.
all, meron kaming sa dati kong kumpanya na tinatawag naming job offer orientation before the onboarding program, no?
Mm.
Before the onboarding session.
Mm.
Ang ibig sabihin nito is we meet first with selected candidates, but before we give the job offer, we tell them exactly what is happening inside the company. Short
Mm.
of saying that we are not painting a rosy picture about the company. Diba, sinasabi namin, you know, here in our environment, if your boss is still around, you cannot leave the office.
That's true.
Or
Yeah.
every month, we change shifts. Now, nawawala yung nagba-back out kasi marami nagsasabi na hindi nyo diniscuss sa akin yan o ganito, ganon.
Tama.
Kaya we already avoided fallouts.
Magandang tip yon sa mga interviewers.
Yeah,
Be open in telling what is not so good about your company
yes,
before you make the job offer. To warn
yes.
in applicants what they're really getting. Like for us, we're in retail. So sasabihin ko may pasok kami ng weekend, ang rest day namin Tuesday game. Which is a problem because, you know, Philippines is a Catholic Christian community where church is very important and family is very important. But by just saying that, ang dami nang nawawala. Which is good sa mga taong pumapasok. Because it's really a mindset fit. And if the person does not have the same mindset versus everybody else in the company, pag pumasok yan, ang gulo. Kasi i-insist niya yung mindset niya yung tama. Which is
Exactly.
a pity kasi you've worked hard for that mindset, that type of culture already in your company. Ka-Arnie, may magandang tanong dito. Sorry po, bakit po red flag ang palipat-lipat ng company? And there's another related question which is job hopping really a red flag? What would be our piece of advice to some recruiters who are having a bad impressions of job hoppers as per CV during the paper screening process? Before I turn over, this is the reason why you have 5 pages of resume. It's like, ano, Karen, you first and si Jake.
Okay. Simple answer. Because if you hop from one job to another, the impression you give to the recruiting officer is that you will do the same thing to their company. Di ba? Ginawa mo na dati eh. Okay? Past behavior, as they say, predicts future behavior. That is one of the dimensions of targeted selection. It is an indication that what you did in the past will most likely what you will do again in the future. Kaya yung job hopping no-no, lalo-lalo na kung ang mga functions is paiba-iba. That simply means that you are not decisive. Nasa sales ka, punta ka sa HR, punta ka sa production. What kind of career are you talking about here? Pag nasa HR ka, halimbawa, HR assistant, HR officer, HR supervisor, HR manager, HR director, HR vice president, that is what I did sa mga kumpanya ko. As I ascend, tumataas ang posisyon ko, pero the same function. Di ba? So, yun lang ang sagot ko, Tina.
Jake?
Right. Sa akin, Tina, I agree with Ernie, no? The decision part. Because if you're an employee and after a while you change your mind easily with any triggers na meron sa'yo, and there's an opportunity. You have the triggers, di ba, at one hand, and then you have the opportunities. Once the trigger was clicked, pupunta ka ba sa kabila? Or once the trigger was
Mm, mm.
tick, anong gagawin mo? Right? So, sa akin, in my experience, I have to assess muna yung potentials and benefits, bakit, or even drawbacks of hiring candidates nung history nung kanilang job hopping. Kasi madalas, because of health issues or family that they have to take care, because of, let's say, the boss na or even the whole environment of the workplace affects their mental health, 'di ba? Nagsasabi naman sila, and how are they currently now? But when you talk about job hopping, is it like 3 months, 1 month, or 6 months? So previously, like 5 years ago, when I'm hiring a person, I'm looking at least a year or 2 years. Ngayon, the trend is when I look at the CV of our generation, millennials, like Gen Z or millennials, nandun talaga less than 6 months. So kung magtataka ka, di ba, parang na-probe ka ba? Yun yung tanong
Oo.
before
Hindi ka ba
you
pumasa ng
decide.
probe?
Oo, parang, di
Diba?
ba, pumasok ka ba
Tinanggal ka
ng
bago ka
probe?
umabot ng 6 months. There must be
Oo,
something wrong with you.
correct. So it could be now the question of, is it you or the environment? Of course, when you're facing the candidate, they would always show you the one side of a coin, di ba? Yung face na ganito. Pero what's the impact of that? Now, looking at the decision na meron na sinabi si Ka Ernie, kung ang isang individual is lumipat kaagad and he wasn't able to establish yung tinatawag din na, yun nga, integrity, di ba, na sinabi kanina, and even you haven't established the project and you're hiring for a manager, di ba, magtataka ka na bakit anong nangyayari dito. So these are the indication that what will happen to the previous might also happen to you. So now the impact of the sustainability is now being questioned kung iyong i-hire yan. So ganun naman talaga. Job hopping or even gaps na meron, you have to know the reason, but looking at how would also, is it a concern sa stakeholders? When you do the background checking as well, do they have a good word from you? Bakit ka talaga lumipat, 'di ba? And is it a really legitimate or pattern na tinatawag na yung iyong paglipat ba is 6 months, 3 months lang, less than a year? So my take is about job hopping is that, especially now, yun yung nagiging trend. Okay.
Mm.
Can I
My,
add to that, Tina? Kasi ganito, no? If you have been with the company for only 3 to 6 months, you would not have established your roots
Right.
because you are still in the process of orienting yourself within 3 to 6 months, acclimatizing, learning the ropes. So, what
Mm.
have you to offer in the next company if you have been with the other company for 3 to 6 months? Nothing. Wala kang ipapakita eh. What's your claim to fame? Wala.
Mm. Mm.
Di
I'd
ba?
I
like
Yun.
think
mm.
yung job hopping ka, Ernie, no, hindi lang yung naka 3 months ka sa isa, then you are the next target na. Siguro yung legitimate pattern nga talaga na the past 3 jobs or 5 jobs na meron ka, ang iikse ng time mo. And that's what we are looking for. At least establish something to the company that you can show sa susunod na company that you what you can do.
All
Yes.
right. Mhm. Mindset of an interviewer. Kasi legally, gray area, we're not supposed to ask too many personal information about you,
Mm-hmm.
but we can ask about your work experience. And by asking about your past work experience, where you worked, why you left, how long did you render per job? When you move to another company, what exactly did you do? And why again have you left? And all the company names you list on the CV are Googleable.
Mm-hmm.
Every single employer you've worked with is a place we can background check very, very easily. If one person doesn't give me the information I need, 1000%, the other five will. They will have something to tell me about you. And if you never left your company, previous company properly, I will know. One big no-no for an interviewer is if nag-immediate resign ka, hindi ka nag-render ng 30 days notice. And if you've only worked for a company for 3 months, my next question was, after you resigned, kasi sabihin, I resigned, I informed my boss. How many extra days did you render after you submitted your resignation letter? More often than not, they will say, no, I informed the boss. He was fine with it. He let me go easily. Or he like asked me to stay for 2 days and then he let me go. That's an indication for me how valuable you are and how dispensable you are to that company. That they were so eager to let you go, that you didn't have anything to turn over. There was no information that was so valuable that you knew that they needed you to stay. And there was something from your attitude that they didn't like. That's why they were, sige, mag-clearance ka na lang, kaya immediate na lang tayo. So it's really a very big red flag if you keep on having these short tenured roles, because it will tell me volumes if you render 30 days notice. Most do not, right? And then there's like the reasoning. The reasoning gives us a wealth of knowledge on what motivates you as an employee. For example, mababa kasi ang sahod. Number or malayo yung lugar. The next question I will have in my head is, when I gave you that job offer, my office was already in Makati. My job offer was already at X amount. The fact that you accepted it and then you rejected it 2 months later show the lack of awareness in you making adult decisions about your own career. Dapat alam mo na yan, pinili mo na yan, tapos pagdating mo doon, ayaw mo. Now, there's the excuse, for example, of toxic management. And it is true, some companies are really awful. Many line managers are awful, right? And I know everyone values their mental health, but I also like people who has that capacity to turn bad experiences into good experiences, because it shows me very strong mental health and flexibility. Not that it's bad, not that we are a bad employer for you to work with, But we want people who, in the time of stress and problems, don't run away the very first chance they get and give up as soon as they can't, quote and unquote, take it. We don't like martyrs and pushovers. And I don't want people to be victimized for a long period of time. But I would hire somebody who shows mental strength. And sometimes when we give up so easily, it signals to our interviewer that you might possibly give up if a tiny, tiny episode of stress that may not even be my fault, that may be even from your family side or your friend side or your jowa side or your own emotional mental side. And if I am to fill in a role, I'm giving that job to you and not giving it to somebody else who also probably needs and deserves that job. You're taking a job away from somebody who really needs it and who might possibly be a very good fit for my company and has many people to feed. Breadwinners of the company, they're also as nice as you. But you took that role, you played with it, and then you changed it in 3 months' time. You kind of like stole somebody that role, and that type of callousness is a very big is a very big turn off for me, because I want people who are responsible. You might not be in a line manager role or managerial role or supervisory role, but what's important for me is people who take decisions, their own personal decisions, seriously. Pag pinili mo yan, be accountable to your decisions. And if you've made a bad decision, have a little bit of humility to make make a lemonade out of your lemons, and try to learn as much as you can from a bad experience and not bitawing it as soon as possible. Kasi sometimes it is through these bad experiences you learn the lesson. And it's very painful for me when an employee keeps on changing jobs and they never learn the lesson. And then later on, it's no longer about the bad employers the employees keep on having. Jowa is the best term. If marami ka ng jowa and lahat ng jowa mo masama, pag tinawagan ko yung jowa mo, anong sasabihin ng jowa mo? Because there's always two sides to the story. And if you keep on making these bad career decisions over and over, then they're not learning. And there's something that might be wrong with your decision making. And I don't want people who make bad decisions ever entering our company, because it negatively impacts everybody else that I've hired and hurts their mental health. That they have to like take care of you all the time. That they have to adjust to you. When in fact, lahat naman ng tao pantay-pantay. That's the way I look at it, diba? So I don't mind job hoppers pag OJT, pag medyo bata pa, if you make a few mistakes. But sa akin lang, learn the lesson. Because if you don't learn the lesson and if you keep on hopping pa rin, the problem's no longer the companies you work for, but you. Right? Make better choices for your career. Kasi, nandyan yan eh, CV yan, di ba? Kung 2 months ka lang, baka wag mo nang ilagay. Lalong-lalo na pag di ka
Right.
umalis.
Right.
Kasi tatanungin talaga namin eh. Ka-Ernie, there's a question here. Kung AI po nagsiscreen ng CV, ano po ang top 3 keywords na malakas sa potential na makalusot?
Naku.
Ako Ernie, ako muna.
Hindi
Kasi,
ano eh, I'm not a firm believer of AI because
oo.
I prefer the human mind over AI. Kaya I am not qualified to answer AI dahil ano yan eh, it will just be a guessing game. But I let me quote si Hawking, the author of what do you call this? The main character in the movie Theory of Everything. He was
Stephen Hawking.
saying that the introduction of AI in its fullness will spell the end of mankind.
Ah. Pero
Kasi
let's go back. Oo.
Oh,
I don't
ah,
see any benefit except it will probably help in yung reducing errors, no, because the what artificial intelligence does is to make perfect, no, especially yung mga regimented or repeated functions. So in effect, they're able to streamline processes. But when you take a look at the downside, I don't want people, for instance, to be copying their ideas from ChatGPT. Or I don't want them to enhance their photos that do not look like them. No, sabi nga nung si Hawking, it's in the fullness of AI that will spell the end of the human race. He said that.
right.
Okay.
On my side, Tina, kasi I think a small speaking engagement before, like 2 years ago, we also discussed about this yung sa recruitment. And based on the research, I forgot what link is that, but sa research may tinatawag na top 5 pa rin na skills na hinahanap ng mga companies. And um funny kasi it's really common na nilalagay nga talaga sa mga resume, which is number one yung communication skill pa rin. Okay? Although, di ba, sabi nga natin, uh, it's common pero mahirap talagang gawin communication skill. So when the AI is using the AI for resume, like resume.ai, for example, screen that, isa sa mga tinitignan dyan would be yung communication skill, resiliency or flexibility, leadership skill, and analytical skills. So ito like common na hinahanap ng mga companies at possible kapag ka nandyan sa resume nyo nakakalusot. No? Yeah, so I think those are na meron. Pero kasi si AI could also predict kung ano nga ba talaga or kung saan ka nag-a-apply. One, for example, is mechanical engineering that was discussed. So, if you have the job description, okay, na nasa isang portion, on the left, halimbawa, in-upload yung CV mo, lalabas if you are match. Like how many percent that you are match based on the job description that you are looking for or that you posted or you preferred, no? Based dun sa isang versus sa isang CV na in-upload mo. Pero if the question is top 3 keywords, that could be the communication skills, flexibility and resiliency, and then pasok pa rin ang leadership. Ayan yung hinahanap ng mga
So,
companies.
I think initially, pwede kang makalusot through AI. But at the
Yeah,
end of the day, you will eventually be discovered
right.
when the manifestations of your actions are revealed. Di ba? Kaya whatever strengths you were able to get from AI, wala yan. Because at the end of the day, especially yung mga matitinik at matatalas na recruiting officer will know and will be able to figure out.
Right. Tama ka, Ernie, kasi ano yan eh, after you were screened, like how many percent if let's say company predicts like 80% you are hireable sa HR pa lang sa screening process, and then daraan pa rin sa screening process which is at the end is the human, no, yung touch na interview na tinatawag. Doon pa rin talaga magde-decide.
Si ano eh, katulad ko si Tina na per sa 2 sentences pa lang, alam mo na kung hire mo o hindi. Eh paano kung product of AI yung sagot niya? I can easily spot. Ganun tayo ka-experience, no? Tina, tama ba?
You know what? There's a fun tip. you should actually read the job description that you're of the position you're eyeing for. The keywords are actually in the job ad. Whatever the job ad says that they require, as what Ka Ernie said a while ago, that's what you need to include inside your resume. If the person says 2 years of experience in engineering, for example, you need to highlight that 2 years in an engineering inside your resume. You need to make sure that your resume matches the job ad to the best of their ability, and make sure that your job description previously, if you can, matches what's written on that job ad, because it's a similar logic as search engine optimization. Diba? There's keywords, and those keywords are actually on the company job ad. And because I think this is related to the resume. Ka Ernie, you've mentioned about good resumes and bad resumes. Could you give people 3 tips of what makes a very, kasi you mentioned a lot. So 3 tips that would make a resume stand out.
Okay. Make it simple.
Yeah. Yung
Make it clear.
Canva na
Example,
resume. Uso na ngayon yan eh. Colorful na ano. Ang hirap
use
basahin.
power words to describe your job functions, more so your accomplishments. That's all.
Okay. Jake? Mentor
Right.
Jake?
I think dun sa CV talaga is we're correct. If we're talking about how to get your dream job, tulad ng sabi ni Ka Ernie, parang spouse mo yan or partner sa buhay na pipili ka na lang, piliin mo na yung the best. And when you look at the best, you also do the research, di ba? You look at what's inside that company. So we talk about, or kanina na discuss na, about the financial health ng isang organization, yung leadership, 'di ba, na meron doon sa isang organization. But when we draw our attention again, how to get your dream job, it means that we really have to make extra effort. Okay? Bakit 'yon? Ang nangyayari kasi ngayon sa mga tao, why they cannot tailor fit the CV as well, is they have this CV and then they send it to hundreds of companies.
Yeah.
And then kung sino yung nag-respond based doon, sige eto na lang. And then it will be a cycle to them na yung nalaland nilang job is not really their dream job. But because they need it currently, ayun yung need nila, whether money or malapit sa bahay, but not really dream job. When it's dream job kasi, kahit nasa malayo pa yan, nasa Laguna while you are in Pangasinan, you're ready to sacrifice, to move, di ba, to
Yeah.
go away from your comfort zone. Okay? When it's dream job as well, na tinitingnan mo, especially in a corporation, at galing ka, for example, sa maliit, di ba, na corporation at let's say because of your skills and na-acquire na knowledge over the years, sige, ikaw yung preference. Pero there's another culture shock pa rin sa yan eh. Kasi galing ka, unless nasa corporation ka na ng top 1,000 that well-established, at yun na yung ladder mo para umangat. Now, in a CV kasi, we always need definitely the grammar. You need to do review it for 100 times maybe, okay? Para makita that somehow it's perfect kasi it's also showcase your being detail-oriented, 'di ba? Kung mali-mali yung spelling or even just the word engineering is kulang ng G or N, kulang ng E, 'di ba? A very simple one could also be a no-no to the recruiter. So very simple, brief, clear. Kasi yung iba, ginawa nilang cursive. Eh, yung nagbabasa,
Yeah.
'di ba? Parang ang hirap, dikit-dikit, nasa na yung punctuation and even the...
Tama, I forgot yung form and substance. What you are talking about now is the form. Yung
Yes.
hindi capitalized. Minsan walang period. Tapos yung spacing, walang spacing. Okay?
Right.
Hindi
Right.
justified,
Oh.
hindi justified yung mga essay written. Form
Correct.
and
At
substance, no?
magkakaroon ng ibang iba pang meaning kapag ka mali yung word, di ba? So, it's really a no-no for us if our audience are asking about ano nga ba talaga yung CV na meron. Wala naman talagang format kung tutuusin, di ba? As long as it's brief, nandun yung clarity, and then what definitely it should be true. Kasi kung ano yung nilagay mo doon, and when we look at the when we do the background check, pag tinanong ano yung nilagay mo doon, 'di ba? Ang ganda-ganda ng CV mo ng mga details na nandoon, pero nung tinanong ka hindi yun yung ginagawa mo.
Yeah.
Alright? So for me
Yeah.
ayun yung yun sa akin, Tina.
Yeah. Sa akin, number one, double check that your cell phone number is correct. A very big sin is there's always an extra number additional or less. Auto know if your cell phone's incorrect. And then sabihin mo, well, may email naman, di ba? Nilagay ko naman email dyan. Bakit? Porket mali yung cellphone ko, hindi na ako tatawagan. That shows a lot about you. How you write your name, how you put in the numbers, how the form is balanced. I think malas lang natin, many people looking at resumes, kasi we look at thousands of resumes. Most of the people in that type of role are usually grammar police. May pagka-copywriter ang peg. 'Di ba? If you're in sales, if you're in like IT, hindi sila masyadong particular sa capitalization, sa comma, sa format, sa printing. They're not that particular. But for this particular job na titingin ng resume, sobrang OC sa grammar police. For me, if yung pangalan mo small letter, auto no. If mali yung if mali yung telephone number mo, no. If yung spacing mo hindi tama, no then. Because I have hundreds and thousands of applicants, you know? So what will make you stand out is for you not to make these very simple mistakes. If you didn't care to proofread your resume, that means this job is not very important for you. The second one for me is work experience. If you don't have work experience, uh, like the words that you use should tugma nga on the interview. Kasi for example, sasabihin mo, flexible ka. Tapos pagdating sa interview, tinanong ko sa'yo, bakit ka umalis sa previous work mo? Tapos sabihin mo kasi maraming sakay eh. I'm like, blow my mind, right? Or parang detail-oriented ka. Susulatin mo dun. Tapos sabi ko, paano ka tapos bakit ka natanggal sa dati mong trabaho? Eh kasi careless ako dun sa trabaho ko, may nagkamaling ganito ganyan, tapos na-charge ako, kaya nag-resign na lang ako. What you write on the interview, we actually read it. If you claim that you are detail-oriented, hardworking, flexible, good communication, and good leadership, you better make sure when you're in the interview, we will look for that detail-orientedness, communication skills, leadership, and all the stuff you put in the resume. So that's the reason why, pagdating ng first 5 minutes, alam na naming auto no. Because what you wrote and what you are totally different things that made us realize you don't know what leadership means. You don't know what communication means. You don't know what multitasking means because you write these things and you do the exact opposite, and that's very inauthentic. What is really a green flag for me are people who put details. Details. If you're doing payroll, tell me for how many people. Okay? If you're handling cash, tell me for what's the largest one. If you're doing project, tell me the value of that project. Tell me how long that project is, how many people you've worked with, and what type of role did you do in that project. If you're just the person who prints the report, don't ever say you led it. We will find out during the interview. Don't underestimate your interviewer. They're not, I mean, this is their job, right? If you have no other achievements that you feel you need to say, use your current job to make those achievements happen. A lot of people think, I don't want to work for my company. I want to switch na because I want my dream career. But your current job pays you to make mistakes, to be a better person, and you don't take advantage of it. Every day you work, you get paid. Every mistake you make is covered usually by the company, and there's always somebody higher than you to teach you what the right thing is. And for you, it's just a job, right? So, what makes a very green superstar person is somebody with a lot of awareness on what they are in their career. Kahit na bata yan, I've hired somebody who's 24 years old yesterday. I didn't know she was 24. 1 to 2 years graduate lang. Tapos dalawa kasi na-hire ko eh. The other one that I hired was 34 years old. And both of them have a similar price range, salary range for the role. It was only after I looked into and then I added her in. I realized, oh my gosh, she's only 24. She's so young. And I didn't know, and the salary is the same as a 34-year-old. And the reason why she got hired is because she's so aware of every single step she makes. She's not the smartest person in the bunch. She doesn't have a lot of experience. She only had one experience, a year and 7 months in a company. And then she left for a reason I can understand. And I hired her because she gained so much in that one company. She really made the most out of her experience there. She learned a lot. And I was able to see that in the interview and was great. Whereas a lot of people, nakasampung company na, hindi pa nila alam kung anong gusto nila. 'Di ba? Parang nakalabing-lima na sila eh. Parang hanggang ngayon hindi mo pa ba alam kung anong dream job mo?
Mismo.
What would make you stay? And lahat, eto yung pinaka-ayoko. 'Pag tinatanong mo daw sa interview, sabihin nila, "Eh, kasi may kasalanang ibang tao." Eh, nasaan ka sa kwento? Nasaan ka sa kwento, right? I really love people. Meron akong na-hire kahapon, sabi niya, "I left my previous company because they felt I was too strict." They felt I was too strict. So a lot of the subordinates reported her to the bosses, and there was a little bit of politics. So it was either them or her. So she got left. She got like she decided to leave na lang. And I was like, "Oh, that's great. Tell me more." That talk about the details. Details are so sexy in an interview. If you say you're masipag, tell us how masipag you are. Sabi mo, ay masipag ako. Gaano ka masipag? Naglilinis ako nagpupunas ako. That's not masipag. I'm more masipag, you know? If you say you're detailed, or if you say like you have good communication skills, tell us how good you communicate. How many public speaking engagements have you done? How many reports do you make? What type of reports are your responsibility? Does your boss proofread your reports? If you have that achievement, pagyabang mo sa interview. Be proud of what you are. Don't say, eh, well, I did payroll. Diba, parang, I do payroll. She does payroll. Everyone here does payroll. I do permits. I do permits. Everyone does permits. Masipag ako. Bakit ikaw lang ba masipag? Lahat kami masipag dito. Magaling nga mag-communicate. Lahat kami dito magaling mag-communicate. Detail-oriented. Dude, we're all detail-oriented. How detail-oriented are you? But if you tell stories, how exactly are you detail-oriented? Oh my gosh, parang Karen, it's like having water in a desert. People like that so rare. Na you cannot help but hire them on the spot.
Yes.
Sobrang hirap maghanap ng tao pag kumuwento sa interview. ang detailed, ang dami niyang kwento kung paano siya sa trabaho. Sobrang sexy. I don't care what you look like, what your age is. If you tell me how exactly you are masipag, matyaga, flexible, detail-oriented, good communication skills, trusted by your boss, you're hired. Oh, 'di ba? That's what I think. So, sir, we're almost at the end of the show. Are there any last words first with Ka Ernie and then Mentor Jackson and then me?
I would like to thank everyone for watching. No, it's always a pleasure to be able to share my experience and make it a point to ask me. Don't hesitate. No, because even if some of your messages, because you're not my FB friend, would fall in my message request in FB, I answer. No, but sometimes I would like to ask people not to message me at 4 o'clock in the morning or 12 midnight. No, because I I sleep at 9 and wake up at 6 o'clock. No, so yun lang naman ang request ko. But nevertheless, as I said, I'm in FB. Check me out there, and I have an HRTGP page. Become a member. And my upcoming webinar on March 23, please register and attend it. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Mentor Jake?
Thank you, Ka Ernie, because you've shared a lot of practical tips from the creating a CV, acing the interview, or even honing the skills of people who really wanted to land their dream jobs. Hindi nga talaga madali at hindi nga talaga at mahirap talaga na humanap ng tao to fit in sa dream company ng karamihan. Okay, kasi maraming nakapila. So thank you with
Thank
all
you
the experiences that you shared.
no, for moderating so well. No? So I appreciate it. Pareho kayong magaling. No? Hanga ako.
Thank you, Ka
Tama.
Ernie. And yeah, on my last word, I think for everyone, just look at the uniqueness ng each and individual, di ba? All of us are unique, so uh, lagi naman may differentiator, 'di ba, sa atin. At makikita 'yon kung ikaw ay hinanay sa buong candidates, 'di ba? What makes you stand out? So yun yung titignan natin din, how nga ba? Wala naman talagang template talaga how to have a good CV or how to ace it, but how are you going to stand out kung ikaw ay nakahanay sa buong 'di ba, sa job post na 'yon, anong meron ka. So with that, I'll see you again with every week with our commenters, and thank you, Tina.
Hmm. So for me, uh, if you want to job hop, if you want to change jobs, if you're looking into interview, it's very common sense sometimes why a person gets hired and you don't get hired. What Ka Ernie said, always proofread your resume. Make sure somebody better than you takes a look at it and brings out the best in you into paper. Kasi for you, it's just a piece of paper. But for us, it's the only information we have about you. And a good resume really stands out. Two, interview. Make sure you show up. A lot of people don't show up to interviews. When you don't show up, we actually log you as no show. In some employment job portals, employers are informed when you don't show up to an interview. Don't apply for a job you're not interested in. And if you confirm for an interview, show up on time. I didn't hire a person because he was 1.5 hours late to an interview because he had a family errand. Well, you knew about the interview. And if your family was more important, you don't, I'd rather go for somebody else who's actually on time. It's not the people you are competing with are the others in the interview room with you. The fact that there is a job opening shows the company is willing to allocate a certain budget for that particular role because there is a business need. And they're looking for a suitable person for that position who can stay for a long time. Because the entire interviewing process is costly, stressful, and a headache. We want to do other things in HR and in operations. We don't want to spend our time interviewing hundreds of people because they can't keep put, right? So for me, value the interview experience as much as we value you in the interview experience. Take the experience with some learning. For 10 to 20 people that I interview and siguro 18 that I do not hire. When I don't hire you, don't always blame the company. Don't say it's my fault for not seeing your worth or not hiring you and it's my loss. It's like the fox and the grapes. Hindi mo pa natikman yung grapes eh. Sabihin mo pangit na. Why not be open to think that maybe you should reflect and think maybe there is something that you can improve in the interview process. Because honestly, when I interview people, I'm very disappointed on how many people interview. Meron akong isa, ang ganda ng experience niya eh. Pagdating sa interview, ang pangit talaga ng sagot niya. There's no way I could have hired her even if I really liked her. I even put a star in her resume showing na ito na talaga yung pinaka top manok ko eh. She has the job already and she lost it during the interview because she cannot answer straight. That's the only reason, right? When you look for a job, the dream job is also a job that can accept you for who you are. The real you. If you're a jolly person, extroverted, who likes to like have lunch with people, show that in the interview, di ba? You don't want to work for a remote working company wherein you meet once a year, right? It's not a good fit. If you're an introverted person, don't be too extroverted. Show who you truly are. Let your achievements shine. Let your achievements shine. And when you're still working for a company, collect those achievements inside your current company. I know minsan, sa lahat, lalo na sa mga na job hoppers, gusto na ninyong lumipat, wala na kayong ganang magtrabaho, right? Pero take the opportunity of being paid to improve your resume. Kasi the more things you do for the company you do not like, the more things you can write on your resume and you can boast about when you interview with your dream job. If you're just gonna be a regular Joe in your current job, what would make you stand out when you apply for a dream job? Nothing. And it we will be able to see. Then you will say, how can an interviewer know in the first 30 minutes what my value is or mas masipag ako? Well, we might not be able to know who you truly are, the real you, because maybe even your best friend don't even know. But we'll have a good idea whether or not you're a good fit. Because that's really what we do. Look at thousands of people, talk to them for hours and hours and hours. It's like an FBI investigator. You do something long enough, you really do become an expert on it. Really. If you really seriously put it in place, you become an expert on it. So, good interviewers are very good in assessing people's personality, capability, and potential in the first half hour. That's who you're facing. So if you're going to guerra, if you're going to battle, if you're going to pursue your dream job, you have that one chance. That one chance. Make that chance count. Because I don't care if you're not from a top university, but if you can shine in your resume, in your experiences, and in the interview, you will be still be able to get that job, even if there's politics involved. Because people like you are very rare, really. And the fact that you are rare and so many people interview so badly is a good thing for those who prepare the most. And with that, thank you so much for staying with us. Sobra tayo nag-overtime, pero we want this is a very important topic. So we thank you, Sir Ernesto G. Espinosa, for your time with us. And
Thank
for everyone who
you.
wants to watch the replay, you can do so at the HR Cafe, Usapang Buhay at Iba Pa, Trabaho Buhay at Iba Pa. Thank you and have a good Sunday.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good Sunday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.